Torrin Vance slammed the hangar door shut behind him, but the storm outside still found its way inside. Sparks danced across broken panels, and smoke twisted in dark, curling fingers along the floor. He froze for a second, listening when a high, desperate cry pierced the air. It was unlike anything he had ever heard. Sharp, urgent, almost pleading. "Who's there?" he called, his voice cracking slightly over the roar of the wind. The sound came again, this time closer, mingled with the smell of burning metal and scorched electronics. Torrin's heart thumped. The hangar had been evacuated for weeks. Nothing alive should be here. He ducked under a dangling conduit, sparks scattering around his boots. His hand hit something soft. He yanked back, startled, and his fingers brushed a warm, trembling form. The cry sounded again, smaller now, almost like a whisper. Something small and alive was under the wreckage. Torrin's chest tightened. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed a twisted piece of metal and lifted it with all his strength. Smoke stung his eyes, but he ignored it, focusing on the tiny body beneath. It was a hatchling no bigger than a human child's arm. Its scales shimmered faintly, like liquid silver glowing in the stormlight. Its eyes were enormous, luminous, and terrified. For a moment, Torrin just stared, stunned. He had fixed starship engines and armored cargo bays, but he had never seen a creature like this. Her wings were delicate, almost transparent, and she shivered violently. Her cry wasn't just sound, it carried something else. Emotion, raw and unformed, a pulse of fear and confusion that pressed against his mind. "Hey, it's okay," Torrin said softly, moving slowly so he didn't scare her more. "I won't hurt you." He extended his hands, palms open. The hatchling tilted her head, glowing brighter, then flickered. She emitted a series of soft, melodic hums that made the metal around them vibrate. Torrin's fingers tingled. Whatever this was, it wasn't normal. The hangar groaned. A support beam cracked above them. Torrin froze, then shoved the hatchling aside, just as debris slammed down where she had been. Heart racing, he lifted her into his arms. She was surprisingly light, but her small body trembled like a leaf in the wind. Her scales pulsed softly against his chest. "Who left you here?" Torrin muttered, more to himself than to her. The storm outside rattled the hangar doors. Smoke was thick now, stinging his eyes and making it hard to breathe. He pressed his sleeve against his nose and mouth, feeling the tiny heartbeat against his forearm. She was alive. Fragile, scared, and alive. Suddenly, a spark from the damaged ceiling struck the floor near them. It hissed and skittered toward a pool of spilled fuel. Torrin's instincts kicked in. He grabbed a metal panel and smothered the spark just before the fuel ignited. The hatchling hissed, almost like a warning, a tiny flare of light escaping her mouth. Torrin blinked. That wasn't a hiss. Was it a voice? You're not normal," he whispered. She shivered, then pressed her head against his shoulder, almost like she understood. Torrin felt a strange warmth, a connection he couldn't explain. Her scales pulsed faster, bright silver lines flowing like veins of light across her small body. The hangar flickered with each beat. Something about her, powerful, unpredictable, alive. He scanned the room. Smoke and wreckage everywhere. Sparks still fell. The storm was relentless. But Torrin's eyes stayed on the hatchling. She was small, helpless, and terrified, but she hadn't stopped moving, hadn't stopped crying. She wanted something. Needed something. And for some reason he knew she needed him. Torrin's hands shook slightly as he held her tighter. Okay, he said, voice firm now. "We're getting out of here." He scanned the hangar doors, looking for a path through the wreckage. The storm had knocked over a crate, blocking the usual exit. Another gust of wind rattled the walls, and a shadow moved across the smoke. Something large, unseen, stirred beyond the hangar. The hatchling's glowing eyes widened. Her small wings flared involuntarily, scattering sparks from the broken lights. Torrin's breath caught. That wasn't just fear, she sensed it too. The shadow moved again and a low, resonant vibration ran through the hangar floor. Something was coming, and whatever it wasn't friendly. Torrin gritted his teeth. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know how strong it could be. But one thing was certain. He wasn't leaving this hangar without her. With the hatchling in his arms, he sprinted toward a side exit he hadn't noticed before, ducking falling debris and dodging sparks that cracked and hissed around him. The hatchling pressed her tiny face against his chest, emitting another soft pulse of light. Torrin could feel her heartbeat syncing with his. He didn't know what she was or what she could do, but he knew this. She was alive and he had chosen to protect her. A metallic screech echoed behind him. Something had broken through the hangar wall, something massive. Torrin's stomach dropped. The hatchling stirred violently, glowing brighter than ever. Her soft hums became a sudden, sharp crescendo. Torin froze mid-step, realizing she wasn't just scared. She was warning him. He glanced over his shoulder. The shadow wasn't a shadow anymore. Something huge, dark, and alive loomed at the torn edge of the hangar. Torin's chest tightened. He tightened his grip on the hatchling. "Hold on," he whispered. "We're not done yet." The hatchling's scales flared, and the light reflected off the storm-slick metal. Whatever this was, whatever had abandoned her, whatever now hunted them, Torin knew one thing. They had only just begun. Torin barely had time to catch his breath before the hangar doors groaned again. The shadow from before was moving closer, larger than any human or machine he had ever seen. Sparks flew from broken cables as if the storm itself were trying to tear the place apart. The hatchling, Lyra, pressed herself tighter against his chest, scales flickering silver and blue. Her hums were louder now, vibrating through the metal floor, warning him of danger he couldn't yet see. Then they came. A group of black market smugglers burst through a side-access hatch, their boots clanging against twisted metal. They were armed, ruthless, and clearly prepared for a hunt. Torin's mind raced. He had no weapon, no backup, only a hatchling he barely understood. But he refused to let fear control him. He had made a choice. "Step away from her," he shouted, backing toward the jagged wreckage. His voice carried over the storm, loud and commanding. The smugglers hesitated, unsure of the strange glowing creature in his arms. One of them raised a stun rifle, sparks licking the barrel. Torin's heart pounded, but he didn't flinch. Lyra pulsed, her scales glowing brighter with every flicker of movement. Torin realized something. Her hums were more than sound. They interfered with the electrical systems in the hangar. Lights flickered, sparks jumped unpredictably, and the smugglers' weapons buzzed as if alive. Torin smiled, a grim, determined smile. "You're stronger than you look," he muttered under his breath, stroking her back. He ducked under a fallen beam and scanned the room. Broken crates, smoldering panels, and fallen cables created a maze. He grabbed a damaged control panel from the wall, yanking wires to create a makeshift trap. Sparks flew and the panel emitted a loud, ear-splitting whine. The nearest smuggler froze, shielding his ears. Another's weapon shorted out, arcs of electricity dancing across the barrel. Small victories, but they bought time. "Move!" Torin yelled, sprinting toward a side ramp that led to the maintenance tunnels. Lyra's wings flared instinctively, and with each pulse, more lights around the hangar fizzled and died. The smugglers cursed and adjusted, but Torin's quick thinking kept them one step behind. Every action he took had a direct consequence. A wire pulled here, a beam tipped there, all calculated to slow them down without harming Lyra. One of the smugglers lunged, but Lyra reacted. A sudden flash of bioluminescent light shot from her mouth, striking the attacker. He screamed and skidded back across the metal floor, crashing into a stack of crates. Torin froze for a heartbeat, realizing what she had done. Not deadly, not intentionally harmful, but enough to protect them both. He smiled faintly. "Good job, Lyra," he whispered. The storm outside intensified, wind battering the hangar walls as though the universe itself were testing him. He rounded a corner and stumbled into a corridor blocked by a fallen cargo container. Panic pressed against his chest, but he didn't hesitate. Using sheer strength and ingenuity, he leveraged a loose beam, prying the container enough to slip under it. Lyra's soft hums guided him, almost like she was telling him which way to go. Suddenly, a loud, metallic crash echoed from above. One of the smugglers had climbed a catwalk and dropped a crate toward them. Torin ducked just in time, the crate smashing into the wall behind him. Shards of metal and sparks rained down, but Lyra flapped her tiny wings furiously, shielding him instinctively. He felt the pulse of her energy resonate against his chest. She wasn't just helping, she was fighting alongside him. Torin's mind raced. He needed a way to get them out. Looking around, he spotted a maintenance hoverlift hanging from a damaged rail. It looked unstable, risky, but it was their only chance. With Lyra in his arms, he dashed across the corridor, dodging falling debris and sparks, and leaped onto the lift platform. It shuddered under his weight but held. He gripped the controls, improvising with his mechanical knowledge, and lifted them slowly above the hangar floor. The smugglers were relentless. One fired a net gun which tangled in the railings. Another aimed a plasma whip. Torin ducked and twisted the lift just enough to avoid the strike, letting the net ensnare one of them instead. The hiss of sizzling wires and the smell of burnt metal filled the air. Lyra pulsed again, amplifying the flickering lights, making the remaining smugglers hesitate. But the worst was yet to come. From the open hangar doors the shadow returned, larger, more defined. It moved with deliberate force, its presence warping the air. Torin froze, realizing the creature, or machine, was tracking Lyra. His stomach twisted. He had no idea what it was, only that it wanted her. And if it caught them, nothing would stop it. Lyra's wings flared violently, her glow almost blinding. Torin felt her tiny claws grip his arm, her hums now a rhythmic, urgent pulse. He realized she was communicating, directing him, warning him. His pulse quickened. He had to trust her instincts, even though he barely understood them. A sudden roar from the shadow filled the hangar. Sparks flew like fireworks as the storm mixed with the chaos inside. Torin gritted his teeth. They couldn't go back. There was no safe place in this hangar anymore. Only one choice: forward into the unknown tunnels with a hatchling who might be the key to their survival, or doom. He tightened his grip on Lyra. "Hold on," he whispered. "We're getting out." The lift shuddered as he accelerated down the rails. Behind them, shouts and crashes erupted. Ahead, the tunnels yawned dark and uncertain. Lyra's glow pulsed faster, reflecting on his determined face. The human had acted decisively, and the creature had begun to trust him, but the danger wasn't over. As they entered the first curve of the maintenance tunnels, a sudden vibration rattled the walls. Something large moved just out of sight, following them. Torin's stomach dropped. Lyra stiffened in his arms. Her glowing eyes met his, and for the first time, he felt the weight of what they were truly facing. The hatchling wasn't just scared anymore. She was aware. And whatever hunted them now knew exactly where to find her. Torin pressed the lift lever further, shoving them into the shadowed maintenance tunnels. Sparks from the damaged rails flickered across the walls, casting moving shadows that made the space seem alive. Lyra's glow pulsed softly, lighting their path just enough to see the twists and uneven floor. Every sound, drips of water, the distant hum of machinery, the echo of their own movement, made Torin's senses sharpen. Something was following them, but he had no way of knowing what it was. "Stay close," he whispered. Lyra nestled into his chest, wings trembling, but she didn't protest. Her glowing scales reflected in his eyes, and for a brief moment, he allowed himself a sliver of hope. She had survived the hangar, survived the smugglers, and she trusted him. That trust was fragile, but it was enough. The tunnels curved sharply, opening into a small chamber. Broken control panels leaned against the walls, their screens cracked and dead. Yet in the center, a soft blue glow caught Torin's attention. Kneeling closer, he discovered a half-buried data core embedded in the floor. It hummed faintly, alive with stored energy. His pulse quickened. Whoever had abandoned Lyra had left something behind. Something important. "Maybe answers," he muttered. Carefully, he pulled the core free, wires sparking, panels groaning under the strain. His mechanical knowledge guided him. Connectors, circuits, and energy nodes, all fragile, all precise. If he made a mistake, it could fry the core or worse, trigger a defense. He gritted his teeth and worked, ignoring the faint thrum of his own heartbeat in his ears. Lyra hummed, a soft, melodic vibration that resonated with the data core. Torin froze. The glow on her scales brightened, patterns shifting as if syncing with the core itself. He blinked, realizing she wasn't just reacting, she was communicating. He adjusted a wire, connecting one of the terminals to a stabilizer on the lift. The core hummed louder. Lyra's glow pulsed in perfect rhythm with it. Then the data core sprang to life. Holographic symbols projected into the air, strange and alien, yet faintly familiar. Torin frowned. He had never seen anything like it. Lines of code and geometric patterns twisted and flowed, forming sequences that seemed to resonate with Lyra's pulses. She hissed softly, wings flaring, then nudged his arm toward a cluster of patterns. "What is it?" he whispered. Tentatively, he traced a finger along the floating symbols. His mechanical instincts helped him understand the circuits, but this was beyond simple engineering. Something in the code, combined with Lyra's pulsing, hinted at intelligence, strategy, maybe even memory. His stomach tightened. She wasn't just a creature. She was a carrier of knowledge, of secrets someone had tried to bury. Suddenly, a hidden compartment in the floor slid open. A recording activated, projecting a figure in pale light. It was humanoid, tall, and their voice carried a calm authority. "She is the last of her kind," it said, gesturing toward Lyra. "She was abandoned to protect the galaxy from what she can do. Her telepathy, her energy pulses, they could awaken forces we cannot control." Torin felt a chill run down his spine. "They left her here? Alone?" he muttered, gripping her tighter. Lyra responded with a soft pulse, almost like a nod. Her small wings twitched, light rippling across her scales. She seemed aware, understanding him in ways beyond words. Last of her kind. What kind? Torin whispered. His mind raced. Starfire dragons. He had heard myths in scattered logbooks, tales of creatures with intelligence beyond human, powers that could alter systems and minds alike. He had thought them extinct. And yet, here she was, trembling against his chest, alive, aware, and possibly hunted. A sudden vibration shook the chamber floor. Torin froze. Lyra stiffened, glowing fiercely. The tunnels outside were not empty. Something massive moved just beyond the walls. Something that had survived the hangar chaos, something that was tracking them with relentless precision. He glanced at Lyra. Her pulses now formed patterns he could almost interpret. Urgency, fear, guidance. Her instincts were telling him to go deeper into the tunnels, to follow the hidden pathways the smugglers and the shadow could not reach. He nodded, trusting her completely. Lead the way, he whispered. For the first time he felt more like a partner than a protector. Torin began moving carefully, following her guidance. The tunnels twisted unpredictably, some passages collapsing or blocked by debris. Each step carried them closer to something unknown. And then he saw it, a faint shimmer in the darkness like a tear in space itself. Lyra's glow brightened, her hums harmonizing with the subtle vibration of the anomaly. Is that a wormhole? He whispered, barely believing it. Her wings flickered, and for a brief moment, it felt like she was pointing toward it, telling him to take the risk. Torin swallowed. Every instinct told him danger lurked, but he also knew that without taking this chance, they would never escape. As he adjusted the data core in his hands, the recording's holographic figure flickered again. If she awakens fully, the voice said, you may find the galaxy watches you and follows you. Choose wisely. The image vanished. Torin stared at the empty chamber, heart racing. Lyra's scales pulsed violently against his chest, the energy almost tangible. She was more than a hatchling. She was a key and they were being hunted for it. The vibration returned, louder this time. The shadow from the hangar had found them again. Torin's hands clenched. There was no turning back. He had uncovered the secret. He had chosen to trust her. And now, with the data core humming and Lyra glowing fiercely, he knew that whatever came next they had to face it together. A loud, metallic screech echoed from deeper in the tunnels, followed by the unmistakable sound of something massive moving toward them. Torin's pulse quickened, sweat stinging his eyes. Lyra's wings flared, scattering light across the walls. The tunnels seemed to constrict, dark and twisting, as if the walls themselves were alive. Torin whispered, "Hold on, Lyra, we're going to see what this all means." Her pulse quickened in response, almost like agreement. And then, in the faint shimmer ahead, a figure emerged, not a smuggler, not a shadow, but something tall, alien, and impossibly fast. Lyra stiffened, glowing brighter than ever. Torin's stomach twisted. He had discovered a secret he barely understood, and now whatever had followed them was ready to make sure they paid for it. Torin's breath caught in his throat. The figure emerging from the shimmer was massive, towering, and unlike anything he had ever imagined. Its body seemed armored, with dark, reflective plates that absorbed the dim glow of Lyra's scales. Its limbs moved with precise, almost mechanical grace, but the hum of life thrummed beneath them. It had come for her. Lyra stiffened against his chest, her wings flaring violently. Sparks of silver light shot from her scales, dancing across the walls. Torin realized that her energy pulses could disrupt systems, and maybe even strike the creature. But he hesitated. One wrong move and she could hurt herself or worse, provoke the being beyond control. He had to act fast, think faster. "Lyra, trust me," he whispered. "We do this together." Her hums responded, sharp and focused, almost like a heartbeat guiding him. He scanned the tunnels. Broken panels, jagged pipes, and hanging wires littered the path ahead, but one thing caught his eye: a maintenance hoverlift still attached to the rails, damaged but usable. It wasn't much, but it could give them speed and elevation. He dashed toward it, dodging falling debris and sparks that hissed as they hit the floor. Lyra's wings flapped instinctively, adding bursts of energy that helped him leap over broken rails. The shadowed alien creature advanced, steps thundering against the tunnel walls, metal scraping against concrete with terrifying resonance. Torin felt the vibration in his chest, a pulse that matched his own heartbeat. "Hold on," he shouted, setting Lyra carefully on the lift platform. She crouched low, wings tucked but glowing brighter, scales shimmering like a living beacon. Torin gripped the controls. Sparks jumped along the lift's frame as he activated the makeshift propulsion system. It shuddered violently but held. He guided it upward, toward a narrow passage leading to an open chamber where the outpost's emergency exit hung precariously above the storm outside. The alien roared, a sound like metal grinding against bone. It lunged, reaching with massive claws. Lyra flared her wings, sending a pulse of light and energy straight at it. Sparks erupted from the tunnel walls, lights flickered, and the creature recoiled for a heartbeat, stunned by the unexpected surge. Torin took advantage of the opening, accelerating the lift as fast as the damage system could allow. As they flew, Torin's mind raced. The hoverlift was barely stable. Every adjustment had consequences. A flick of the lever too strong and it would topple. He relied on intuition honed over years of mechanical work. The lift tilted dangerously over a collapsed railing. Lyra emitted another pulse, small but perfectly timed, knocking a swinging pipe into the path of the alien pursuer. Torin felt a surge of adrenaline and pride. Together, they were improvising a defense stronger than anything either could have planned alone. Almost there. Torin shouted, eyes fixed on the chamber above. Sparks fell around them, smoke curling through the tunnels like fingers reaching to drag them down. The lift's engines groaned under the strain. Lyra's pulses brightened, almost blinding now, reflecting off the wet, jagged metal walls. Torin adjusted the controls, navigating the treacherous path, trusting the hatchling's instincts as much as his own. The alien wasn't giving up. It lunged again, faster this time, the vibration of its steps rattling loose panels above. Torin twisted the lift, forcing it along a narrow corridor. A sharp edge scraped against the floor, sending a shower of sparks into his face. Pain and fear hit him all at once, but he ignored it. Lyra shivered, but her wings flared, responding to the immediate threat. Her energy pulse struck the alien's arm, throwing it back against a wall. Torin gritted his teeth, realizing that together, they were stronger than it had expected. The open chamber loomed ahead. Torin saw the exit hatch above, the storm outside screaming for them to fail. He accelerated the lift, dodging debris and swinging beams. Lyra's glow reached its peak, illuminating the path, casting a silver light across twisted metal and torn concrete. Her hums resonated with the lift's engines, harmonizing in a way that amplified both energy and movement. The alien roared in frustration, leaping to grab them. Its clawed hand caught the edge of the lift for a heartbeat, sparks and smoke filling the chamber. Torin gritted his teeth, yanking the lift upward with all his strength. The hoverlift shuddered violently, almost tipping, but Lyra's pulse stabilized it, guiding them like a living compass. Finally, they broke through the chamber ceiling. The storm outside ripped at them, wind and rain thrashing. Torin fought to keep the lift steady, muscles burning. Lyra flared her wings fully, light radiating outward, pushing back the rain and wind. The alien shrieked from below, unable to follow. Torin exhaled a long, shaky breath. They had made it, escaping impossible odds together. Lyra huddled into his chest, her glowing scales dimming slightly as she calmed. Torin patted her back, heart racing. "You did it," he whispered. "We did it." For the first time he let himself feel relief. The hatchling's trust in him was absolute now, and their bond had grown in the crucible of danger. But even in triumph he knew the threat wasn't gone. The alien pursuer had retreated, but it had seen their path, learned their strengths. And the galaxy beyond this storm was vast, full of hunters who would not forget a creature like Lyra. Lyra's eyes met his. The pulse of her glow was steady now, confident, almost proud. She had discovered her own power, and in doing so, had shown Torin that humans could shine even in the darkest, most dangerous corners of the universe. Torin glanced toward the distant horizon. Through the storm, faint glimmers of light appeared, shapes moving in the sky, unknown vessels scanning for them. His jaw tightened. The outpost had been only the beginning. The journey ahead would test them both like never before. "Hold tight," he whispered. "This isn't over." Lyra's wings twitched, light pulsing in agreement. The hoverlift surged forward, cutting through the storm, carrying a human and a hatchling whose bond had been forged in fire and danger. And in the distance, through the flickering rain and lightning, a strange shimmer appeared. Not like the wormhole they had glimpsed before, but something different, massive and alive. Torin's stomach dropped. Whatever it was moving toward them, and it was only the first of many challenges the galaxy would throw at them. The storm had finally begun to ease, leaving a gray, heavy calm over the landscape below. Torin guided the hoverlift down toward a hidden valley he had spotted through the lightning-streaked clouds. The valley was small, cradled by jagged cliffs, and untouched by outpost structures or human settlements. It offered shelter, but it was also unknown territory. Still, Torin had no choice, he had to trust it. Lyra nestled into his chest, wings folding neatly against her back. Her glow pulsed softly, more steady now than during the chaos of the hangar. She had survived attacks, learned to fight alongside him, and now she seemed to understand him in ways words could never convey. Torin exhaled, his grip on the controls relaxing slightly. Relief and exhaustion washed over him. They had made it. For now. He guided the lift to a gentle landing, the engines hissing as sparks escaped from the damaged propulsion system. The ground shook beneath them, wet with rain and mud, but Lyra did not panic. She pressed her small claws lightly against his chest, her glow reflecting in his eyes. "You're safe," he murmured. "For now." She hummed, a soft, musical sound that seemed almost like laughter, a sound he had never expected from a hatchling. Torin lowered the lift carefully, eyes scanning the valley. Craggy rocks and scattered pools of water reflected the soft light of Lyra's scales. The storm's retreat revealed a sky mottled with dark clouds, still threatening but calmer than before. He let himself breathe, the tension of the past hours beginning to fade, replaced by a quiet awe. The hatchling stirred, standing for the first time on her small legs. She stretched her wings, silver light streaming across the valley floor. "You're incredible," Torin whispered, crouching beside her. He reached out a hand slowly. She stepped forward cautiously, but then pressed her head against his palm. Her trust was complete. She had found her voice, not just in hums and pulses, but in courage and connection. And he had given her the one thing she had needed, someone to believe in her. Suddenly, a faint shimmer appeared in the distance. Torin squinted, heart tightening. The storm had passed, but the world beyond this valley was still alive, still dangerous. The shimmer was subtle, almost like a ripple in the air. Lyra stiffened, wings flaring slightly. She pulsed a bright, rhythmic signal, and Torin realized she was warning him. Something was coming. But this time he was ready. He stood tall, chest forward, hands steady. "Whatever it is, we face it together," he said. Lyra's glow flared once as if answering him, and then settled into a steady rhythm. The bond they had formed was no longer fragile, it was unbreakable. They had survived impossible odds and learned to rely on each other in ways that transcended fear. Torin explored the valley cautiously. Pools of rainwater reflected fragments of broken machinery from the outpost, but otherwise, it was quiet, untouched, almost sacred. He noticed small traces of movement, scattered footprints, scratches on rocks, that hinted someone or something had passed through before. Whoever it had been, it had left quickly as if aware of their presence. Torin frowned, mind working through possibilities. Every detail mattered. Every pattern could be a warning. He paused near a cliffside, scanning the horizon. Far off, beyond the valley, he saw movement, ships, small but fast, glinting faintly under the receding storm clouds. They weren't here yet, but they were coming. The realization hit him hard. Lyra's abilities, her uniqueness, had already drawn attention beyond the outpost. They had escaped one danger only to step into a larger one. Lyra stepped forward, her wings catching the light. She stretched them fully, silver scales reflecting the first soft rays of sunlight piercing the clouds. Torin watched, awe filling his chest. The hatchling's voice, once soft and fearful, now pulsed with confidence. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead, but she needed him. And he needed her. Torin's hands brushed over the data core still tucked under his arm. He had uncovered secrets, learned of Lyra's origins, but there was more he didn't understand. Whoever had left her behind had known her power could change everything. He felt a surge of determination. He would protect her. He would guide her. He would ensure that humans could shine in the galaxy not just through brute strength, but through courage, intelligence, and compassion. A distant ripple of light caught his attention. Through the clouds, a faint signal pulsed, steady, deliberate, and unmistakably intelligent. Lyra's glow synchronized with it for a heartbeat, then pulsed brighter, signaling recognition. Torin's stomach tightened. The signal wasn't friendly and it wasn't human. It was an invitation, or a challenge. He knelt beside Lyra, brushing a hand over her glowing head. "Looks like we've got more work ahead," he murmured. She emitted a soft, musical hum in reply, as if acknowledging the danger yet trusting him completely. Torin straightened, gaze fixed on the horizon, muscles tense and ready. Whatever came next, he knew this: humans could rise above fear. They could face impossible odds. And together, he and Lyra could change everything. The wind shifted, carrying faint metallic echoes from beyond the valley. Torin felt the pulse of Lyra's wings, steady and powerful. He inhaled, chest tightening, and whispered, "We're ready." Her glow flared once, casting silver light across the valley floor, and for the first time he felt something larger than fear, hope. And as the distant signal pulsed again, brighter this time, Torin realized the truth. The galaxy was watching, and their adventure was only beginning. Whatever forces lay ahead, he would stand with Lyra. Humans had faced impossible odds before. And now, together with a creature no one believed could exist, they would rise again. The hatchling stretched her wings fully, the light of her scales reflecting off every puddle and rock. Torin felt the weight of the moment, a quiet victory tempered by the knowledge that danger still loomed. But he was no longer just a mechanic. He was a protector, a guide, a human who had believed in something extraordinary. And that belief, he realized, was stronger than any storm, any shadow, or any hunter the galaxy could send. From the far edge of the valley, the shimmer pulsed once more. Torin's jaw tightened, eyes narrowing. "We'll find out who's out there," he said. Lyra's wings flared again, light pulsing in agreement. Together they would face the unknown. Together they would shine. And somewhere beyond the clouds, a new challenge waited, patient and watching, ready to test them further.